Okay, we will call to order our EDA meeting here this morning. It is Thursday, June 5th, 2025, 7:30, and we're in council chambers. Roll call, please.
Beezer. Grasula.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Kirsch. Here. O'Day.
Here.
Sandy. Yeager.
Here. All right. Looking for an approval or any changes to the agenda.
Move to approve Johnson.
Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. All right, we got on our agenda consent calendar. Notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the board will be enacted upon one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. That includes approval of the minutes, financial reports, Swanson Has Camp report in your packet, visit Brainerd report, EDA, and prior EDA priorities update. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I just wanted to add that I think DDBC had a report in there too, although I'm sorry I got it in late, Tony.
I'd move approval Johnson.
We've got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Grasula.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kirsch.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yep. All right, we have our consent calendar approved. We will move on to unfinished business, 5A. Our first item here is to approve the preliminary funds for the Washington Street mitigation plan. That's James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the EDA board discussed potential funding for the mitigation plan after reviewing the 2025 EDA budget, which includes approximately $103,000 in projected fund balance at the end of the year. The EDA discussed potentially contributing $30,000 towards the mitigation plan, but did not take formal action at the workshop. Staff attached the preliminary plan from the Chamber and Blade Act that includes a $90,000 budget for 2026 and $65,000 budget for 2027. A large piece of this is the business liaison, which would be most likely a third-party consultant. That hasn't been completely vetted out of exactly what that would look like, but narrowing down this position will be important for the final proposal. Staff recommends that the EDA preliminary approve $20,000 in 2026 and $10,000 in 2027 towards the mitigation plan. So Bladek and the Chamber can continue to kind of plan and create a final proposal and estimates for a final review. And with that, I don't know, Tyler, is there anything that you'd like to add, or Marie?
Okay, thank you, James. So what we're looking for here, any questions for staff? Yeah, please.
Yeah, if we give this $30,000, is it contingent upon the program fully funding itself at $200,000, $190,000, $160,000, whatever it is? We're only giving it if they can fully implement it, or are we just giving $30,000 and if nobody else participates, our money still just goes away?
Tyler?
I would, great question, Gabe. I would just say that it's contingent on full completion of completing all of the steps in this process. I mean, if you're making a commitment, I would make a commitment contingent on all other pieces being completed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? So staff has recommended the $20,000 in the first year, $10,000 in the second year. Do we feel like that's in balance? We could certainly go 15-15 or anything else, but to me, the 20 and 10 seems about right, but open to any thoughts on that also. Otherwise,
We have one question if
yeah.
you don't mind. So the rest of that money, Gabe's mentioning maybe 160,000 or more. Where is the rest of it coming from? Is there going to be another ask from the EDA, or is it just coming from other sources?
Other sources, yeah, there won't be another ask to the EDA. Looking at partners like Initiative Foundation, Sourcewell, just looking at other sources to see what's available. We've talked, I know that there's been some initial discussions with MnDOT as well. But MnDOT, when they go through this process, when they pick a general contractor, there is some funding that is available through to the general contractor. The general contractor can then allocate some of that funding outside to handle mitigation processes like this. So yeah, there's quite a few other sources that we're looking for.
Okay, great.
Anything else? All right. If not, we'll be looking for a motion here on the recommendation.
Motion approved.
Got a motion to, and at the 20 and the 10?
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those, oh, sorry.
I do have discussion. I'll vote in favor. The motion didn't have it contingent upon a fully funding of the process, but that's my expectation and hope
Yep.
that it is going forward.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to the review of the proposed childcare incentive policy. This is, should be page 27 in your packet. James, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the EDA held a workshop again on that April 4th meeting and discussed potential economic incentive programs for childcare centers in the city of Brainerd. Staff, as well as a couple of liaisons from the EDA, did tour the childcare centers and certainly learned about the difficulties of expansion or creating new centers. So the EDA discussed waiving a percentage of the building permit fees and potentially land use permit fees. The EDA board is generally not in favor of waiving SAC and WAC fees. So a couple of questions for the EDA. Should there be incentives for childcare centers? And then should they apply to commercial centers and home daycares? And staff is seeking direction to potentially move forward.
All right, thank you, James. Thank you for staff and EDA members that visited those facilities, by the way, leading up to this. Okay, any questions for James or any discussion on this? Looks like James is looking for some direction kind of on who we give it, you know, who we're going to help if we want to help and how we break it apart. James?
Yeah, and staff did propose, similar to the River to Rails District, up to $150,000 in valuation. That was discussed at the meeting, and then potentially the land use permit fees, leaving the SAC and WAC out.
Okay.
And this would just be direction. I'd actually draft a policy for the next meeting for review, and then that would go to city council for review after that.
Okay. So it sounds like James wants to come up with a policy here and for us to review at the next meeting?
Next meeting, and then probably the biggest question, if you want to move forward with, kind of staff's recommendations there, and then should it apply to home daycares and commercial childcare centers?
Yep. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Home daycares, and commercial centers? Both? Yes, please.
Yeah, I think it should apply to both. And what's $150,000 get you? A bathroom? I mean, maybe we want to increase that to $250,000 or $300,000, going forward. So I think maybe a higher waiver on the construction permit fee, but then I think it should apply to both. Thank you.
Yeah. Is 150 the same that we use for River to Rails?
150 is River to Rails. Obviously, the difference there is SAC and WAC can be fully waived in that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, perhaps EDA can kind of maybe come up with a number that you'd like to see on that one if interested.
Yeah, 150 was a 2018, 2017 number.
Yeah. I would say
Now
at
we're in
least double to
2025.
triple would be
Yeah.
my thinking from now. Tyler?
No, I just had a question.
Oh,
Sorry. Thank you. I'll just agree. I think we should apply this to both commercial and home daycares. I think most of what we focus on is probably going to be these commercial ones from this group. But if we had 50 more home daycares, which is a possibility, that would take care of a ton of spots in town.
yeah, for sure.
And the buildings are already there. So if there's anything we can do to actually encourage more of that for those that are maybe stay-at-home moms or dads or whoever wants to do those, I think those are quicker to, whatever we can do to speed up that process would be great.
Right. Anything else? So we want to change the amount possibly here or recommend a different amount? 450?
Sounds good to me.
450. All right.
457.
457. Okay. And it sounds like, so James, sounds like changing the amount to like 450-ish, and then we are looking to apply to both home and commercial daycare, so sound right?
That sounds good. We'll bring that to the next meeting.
Very good. No other, nothing else needed on this one?
Nothing else needed?
All right, very good. All right, we will move on to the review of the VCV block metrics purchase development agreement. James, this is you too, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the City Council, EDA Board, and Public Utilities Commission held a joint meeting on May 8th to discuss a request by Blockmetrics to extend the purchase power agreement with Brainerd Public Utilities. Staff were directed to draft a power agreement with certain provisions discussed at the meeting. BPU is currently working on the revision and is currently being reviewed by the city attorney. Once that's done, Blockmetrics will review it, and we're planning on presenting that at the June 24th Public Utilities Commission. The amended purchase and development agreement requires Blockmetrics to start This is the one with the EDA, the project by April 1st, 2025, which did not happen, nor is it executed. The commencement deadline on the only executed agreement has long since passed. So as of right now, staff does not recommend sending a 30-day notice that VCV is in default of the purchase and development agreement, as they are working on an amended power agreement with Block Metrics. However, the board should consider the following options: either reevaluate the status of the project at the September 4th meeting and give direction to staff, or direct staff to send a 30-day notice approximately August 1st if the power contract has not been executed, so the next steps could be considered at the September 4th EDA meeting. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for James? Yes, please.
I know the power agreement was not on the last BPU meeting's agenda. I haven't reached out to the commission or any of the commissioners to ask them if they're actually working on it, if they're in contact with this group or not. That would make a huge difference in whether or not we send them a letter, I think.
So multiple staff members have been working on it, as well as our city attorney and also the attorney that BPU has kind of hired to draft this as well. So it is currently being worked on. It's very close to being finalized. At that point, we're going to have a conversation with Block Metrics to take a look at the provisions in there. And then hopefully that's essentially kind of finalized a couple of weeks ahead of the June meeting for the Brainerd Public Utilities Commission, and then they'd review it. So it is being worked on, and we have been in contact with Block Metrics and keeping Clark up to date.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? All right, so we have a couple options here. We could do nothing till September, let them work on the agreement, continue to work on the agreement on their side, come bring it back to us and in the September meeting. Or we could, James is mentioning that we could direct staff to send a 30-day notice to August 1st. Any thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we held that joint meeting with the Public Utility Commission, and they seemed interested in still dealing with Block Matrix. And they wanted to hammer out a power agreement, and they needed more time because Block Matrix isn't fastest movers.
Performing, yep.
Yep, isn't performing, but they wanted to still continue exploring this avenue, so I don't want to have this body do anything that puts a stop in what the Public Utility Commission wants to try and accomplish, so I think we should not do anything for now, wait till September and see what it looks like then.
Yeah, that's kind of my general leaning also, is just let them continue to work on this and see if something can be hatched out, but. Okay, so unless they're hearing otherwise, it sounds like we're gonna not take any action at this point and reconsider September. All right, very good. Okay, with that, we will move on to new business. This is the review of SHC's proposed strategy to market our underutilized properties. Jennifer, please.
Good morning. So we're going to attempt to log into basically a draft. We've started putting together, oh, and he's got it. He's on top of it over there. So essentially we started to build out what would be a listing portal that essentially would eventually probably live on the Brainerd EDA website. I think we talked about this at the last meeting, the idea that how can we commingle both properties that we have as a city for sale and available, but then also allow others within the community to provide their listings. And I think over the last couple meetings or so, we've discussed how do we do that in such a way that we're not responsible for those listings. So basically it's like whoever the lister is or whoever the landowner is has the ability to use this portal, list their properties for either lease or for sale. But at the same token, we're not responsible for making sure that the data is accurate. It's really the onus is put on that other party, whomever it is, whether it's another broker, landowner, et cetera. It provides a good opportunity for folks also who maybe don't want to work with a brokerage and want to list something themselves. They would also have the ability to put it here. So back at our firm, we started to build out what this might look like. So you can see here, we just started the structure of it for discussion purposes today. And you can see on the left-hand side is essentially a GIS map. And essentially what happens is the address or GPS location gets identified, puts the marker there, then it attaches the data to it, which is on the right-hand side, which is where each of those listings would be. So you can see by the table, or excuse me, by the information that's on the right-hand side, that what would appear here, obviously, is if someone uploaded an image. Right now, they're all the same on purpose because we're just building out the framework to see how this works. And essentially, they could upload an image that would go into that listing. There would be contact information, property snapshot, essentially, of is it for sale, is it for lease, what's the contact information, who's the email. If it's listed by a brokerage, they would have to provide their brokerage information here. And so this would be the snapshot. It could then link to either their listing. So if it's another brokerage, it could list directly into their portal, or we could require them to upload their own PDF or one pager about the information or about the listing. So there's a couple different ways we can do it. I know that we'll have to work with the city to ensure from a security purpose or perspective, you know, when you're pointing on websites to other websites, sometimes for security reasons, the host doesn't like that. So we'll have to work together to figure out how that exactly ends up being put together. But essentially what would happen is this is kind of like your own app, for lack of a better way of saying it. And then if you see on the top right now, it says click here to submit a new property listing. You should be able to click on that link. And we've started to build out the submission form. So this is what folks could fill out. It's their information. Probably don't need to sign up for our quarterly newsletter right now, but certainly could. But essentially, this then puts the onus on them to fill out the information and make sure it's accurate. It also has a disclaimer on it that essentially it's their responsibility to keep us updated if it sells or it is, you know, leased out. If they don't do so, this will automatically depopulate, or that listing will come off. I think it's after 180 days. So then they would either have to resubmit it if they want it again, or it would automatically come off. So from that perspective, I think it's pretty straightforward. Right now, we've just built it out using our own platforms, and obviously we would then transfer it to the city once it's built out and we've got it figured out exactly how it's going to get hosted. Because it is an ESRI or a GIS app, there will be a cost in terms of the data. So we're working with ESRI to get what that estimate is. It's not a huge number, but it does require that data input portion, and that's a hosting piece from their app, if you will. So that's what I have in terms of where we're at. Happy to have any feedback. We can tweak anything and just hear what you have to say in terms of how the format looks and whether or not this is something that you feel like is achieving the objective that we were after.
Awesome. Okay. Any questions or comments for Jennifer? Because there's a cost associated with the GIS portion of this, would we, so if an outside entity wanted to participate in this, would we be charging a little bit something there, or no, or?
That's certainly something we could look at. At the moment, we haven't structured it that way. Obviously, the city also has GIS, so I believe that there's probably going to be a bit of a discount there because you already have also a membership, but that's what I'm working through.
Sure.
Have to work with staff to kind of figure out what is it. They have basically, it's like a pay per credit is what they use. I have no idea how they come up with what the credits are, except for they talk to you and then decide how much you can pay. But beyond that, so because it's a municipality, you tend to get better pricing. And it's basically using the data, if you will, from ESRI for like the parcel data, and so it's really tying it to the map is the piece. So I just don't anticipate a huge cost, but it's certainly something we could explore.
All right. Yeah, please.
Yeah, you've got me hyper fixated on the cost now. Is it like $10 a listing, $100 a listing, $100,000 like
it
a
is-
rule of 10 for me here?
Yeah,
Like, what
it's
are we looking at?
100%, not $100,000. It's probably, I'm not even sure I would say it's $10 for the 180-day window.
Okay.
It's less than that because, again, it's basically paying for the map.
Yep.
You know, so you're not paying for really the data associated with it. It's just the ability to use the portal and their mapping system and make it so it's easy for folks when they go onto our website that they can actually see it geographically of where it's located.
Thank you.
I have a
Yeah,
quick
please.
question. So when they enter in the data, is there someone going to like lightly look at it to make sure that that's a valid address and
Yes.
the information is?
Yes, so
Appropriate.
if it's not a valid address, it won't actually map it. So that will be even the user or the person who's trying to enter the data will be able to see that it's not populating properly. So, and I would guess we will also in here, we might put GPS coordinates in case someone has them as opposed to an address, because raw land, for example, oftentimes is unaddressed, but you still have a GPS coordinate. So we'll do a couple things in here to make sure that we can get it geographically located. If the data comes in, this form gets in, and there's something that's not working about it, if we continue to host it, or if we're working with the city, or you hire someone else like myself who works with the city, they will be able to look at it, validate it, and we will have contact information on here also for whomever, so that if someone's having trouble navigating the form, that they can contact them and say this isn't working. So, yes.
Okay. And so for these private parties, are they going to be flagged so the user knows that it's personal?
Yes, so it will be identified if you're on the other page, the first page where the summary listing, you can see the contact information and more information. It will have contact, and then whether it's a listing broker or an individual, and that's who. So it'll be clear that it is not the city of Brainerd or the Brainerd EDA. It is a private party or a brokerage.
Okay. Other question, which I don't know if this is now or later, but when I Google land for sale, Brainerd, I don't see these sites.
These are not public right now.
Okay.
These are, this is just in development. So
Okay.
this is for your consumption only this morning, but it has not been pushed out.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, please.
So just based on what Tony was saying, there are some sites listed on our EDA website that should probably come up in a Google search though, right? I haven't tried it, but did you see any of those, Tony?
I had to specifically look up the EDA for it to populate, but just the light search of land for sale in Brainerd, the top 10 I did not see.
Okay, but if this is connected to our website or on our website, that should help SEO
Yeah.
populate that
I
faster.
mean, what you're really talking about is SEO. So there's two different, obviously, ways to do that. There's the organic SEO, which the more times and the more information that gets out there, the more times it gets hit on. Obviously, that'll improve it in terms of where it gets ranked on Google. The second piece is to actually pay for that SEO sort of improvement. Right now, that's not being done. It's all organic, which is why you're not finding it on page one, right? So I think organically, as things become more populated and sites like this become used more, it will automatically pump us up a little bit, but then there also could be a targeted SEO approach that would have a pay component to it.
Thank you.
So aside from that too, we were talking about the cost of this. If the cost is low enough where the board can cover that, the EDA can cover the cost for anybody who wants to advertise on here, I think we should, at least for the first year or two. If it becomes wildly popular and, we can pass that cost on to whoever wants to advertise on here for $5 or $10. I don't want a barrier for anybody to put their listing on here, because if we could get everybody to start using this, I think it would be effective. But if we only have our properties from the city on there and then 2 or 3 other ones, then we've kind of wasted time with this. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, please.
I would imagine that once we get this in a format that we want to push out, that we would actually probably make a targeted effort also, to your point, go to some of the local brokerages, also maybe put it, on the EDA's website, make a targeted effort basically to inform folks that this is available and it's a tool that they can use. So, if it gets populated and it's on the EDA website, but nobody knows it exists, they're not likely to use it, right? So we would, once this is in a good place and everybody feels good about it and we want to unroll it, then I think we would make a targeted effort to reach out to folks to see if we can get it to get populated with several listings.
I have one other comment.
Yeah, please.
Too. I know this is sort of unrelated, kind of related, but the pictures that you mentioned they are the way that they are for a reason right now. For those properties, do we have photos that aren't in the winter?
Yes,
Okay. I was just
but
gonna
it's
ask.
going to be winter and soon.
I know, but when people are looking at it, we have trails that are a little more attractive that are already in those properties. I'm wondering if, and we don't have anybody from Public Works here, but I'm wondering if we could get somebody from Public Works to coordinate some new photos after, when everything's green and those boulevards and those trails have been mowed, maybe cleaned up, take new pictures. Was that funny?
The mowing of the trails, that's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
It is funny, isn't it? Is it not mowed right now?
So I believe like like you said, the ditches and stuff like that are mowed. The properties have not been historically mowed. I know we did get some additional brush hog attachments, and they did talk about trying to maybe clean those up here this year. So we could potentially coordinate with Public Works to take pictures at the optimal time.
Okay, that'd be great. That's all.
You had a question? Yep, comment?
So we sincerely do have other pictures. This was just used.
These are just placeholders,
These are
yeah.
this is just
Right.
one. I purposefully was like, we are using one picture because otherwise you're going to fixate on all the pictures. So,
I still fixated on the pictures.
yeah, right. So,
Didn't work
touche.
out in the end anyways.
But we actually, so what we attempt to do is, we have pictures for every season actually at this point, or close. So we try to refresh them. So in the event that things stay up and listed more then we try to, oh, it's winter now, and then we switch over. So we have winter
Get the
images.
snowmobile in there.
So
on the
it,
trail.
Get the
so
AI
it
to
looks like it's a
put some
more
buildings
recent
in there.
listing. So that is part of our approach from a marketing perspective, to try to make sure it's matching so it doesn't look like a really dated listing when it's out there.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, very good. So it sounds like generally you've got some approval to keep charging forward with it. I'm excited to see how it matures over time here. And hopefully we're having a conversation of how to manage all of the people trying to get on our site at some point. So that'd be good. All right, thank you so much. We will move on to the review of the Visit Brainerd strategy to market our EDA website and industrial properties. Mary, please.
Good morning. So in your packet was a memo highlighting the strategy, and a lot of it is information that we've already talked about before, so we could effectively skip to page 2. But obviously the goals are to make this website work so that we can promote the property listings and the EDA as a whole, as far as the incentives and the things that are happening within the city of Brainerd. Refining the target audiences and the key messages are things that we'll continue to work on with the subconsultants and take from the framework from the EDA as well. But the gist of it is to develop and maintain the property listings page, which is out there. And right now we do have information on there and a downloadable PDF. And so as we continue to work on and refine the digital advertising strategy behind that, with the on-page SEO and then the off-page SEO, and then keyword search, which is something that we are paying for, and then Google display ads. We ran into some challenges again, technically with the website. It was built on a platform where they were having a lot of challenges getting things set up, and so it's now since been migrated to a WordPress platform. And so in terms of reporting and being able to get all of that going, we're in great position now moving forward. So the display ads have been up and running. With that in mind, we're competing with the real estate market, right, and realtors, and so refining the bidding strategy for SEO and display advertising is a work in process, and figuring out how much money do we need to spend on a daily basis to continue to try and get further up in the search ranking. So to your point, Tony, I think it will get better the more that we put money into it and look at the results and start to figure out what are the right keywords, where should we be going. And I think that in our meeting today too, that we can certainly get feedback from probably both Swanson Haskamp and Bladek on things that they've done in that line as well. The next big component of it in terms of content marketing will be activating our blog. That will definitely provide a huge boost in the organic traffic that will come to the website. And so there is a separate packet, and James doesn't need to jump around, but there was a separate memo in the packet outlining the blog topics that I want to kind of write. And so I was hoping to get feedback from the commission on that. James and I developed the list. I don't know that there's too many holes in there, but take a look and let me know if there's any other better ideas, anything you don't want to cover. But the gist of it is we're going to keep focusing on properties that are available for sale, talking about shovel-ready industrial property incentive, and then discover what's different, which is really, Marie Kirsch came up kind of with that tagline and theme, discover what's different in Brainerd, and then making Brainerd brighter. And then underneath that, we'll highlight stories of the various initiatives like the facade improvement grant, property owners that have made significant improvements, things that are tied to the downtown redevelopment, just looking at different aspects of the community and economic development as a whole. I launched the LinkedIn page just recently, and so as soon as we have approval on blog content, we'll get some of that written and we'll start populating the LinkedIn page and doing the cross-linking between the website platform and LinkedIn, and start working on a separate strategy for trying to post and keep that activated and getting likes and follows there. And so we can do some advertising on LinkedIn as well. So the pieces are there, they're coming. I had some additional recommendations or things that we should talk about at the consultants meeting, one being a interactive map, which Swanson Haskamp is working on, and we'll do some video testimonials, I think, ultimately, that can add to the overall content strategy. And then one thing that I had on here too was maybe a direct mail piece or a quarterly newsletter. All of these things, though, need to be discussed because they come with that human resource component of who's going to do it. And if that falls on the consultants, fine, but it's a larger conversation since there isn't a specifically dedicated staff to some of the EDA initiatives. But so that's kind of the summary of what I've got right now. I think the main takeaway for me would be if you wanted to spend any time talking about the blog suggestions, or if you want to do that in an offline conversation. I don't know how much time you have today, but.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Any questions for Mary? Any thoughts on the blog topics that are proposed here in front of us?
I had a chance to look through them, and I think that it's a great start. Obviously, as we go on, we'll tweak them a little bit, but I think this is a great start to the blogs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree as well. Anybody else? Okay,
All right.
thank you,
All
Mary.
right. Thank you.
Okay, and so I think that that was also item C. That was a review of our website blog ideas right there. So we're going to go on to D, which is to set the 2026 preliminary EDA tax levy request. Exciting stuff here, Connie. It's all yours.
So the preliminary levy needs to be set by the city council by September 30th. Since our next regular EDA meeting is not until September 4th, we put it on this this commission meeting. What the council needs at this point from the EDA board is just the preliminary EDA levy. Again, it can always be lower, but cannot be higher than what is preliminarily set. Historically, the EDA board has requested the maximum allowed by state statute, and for 2026, that amount would be $223,309. For reference, the maximum EDA levy for 2025 was $214,612, and the council set the levy at $186,812. This was the same amount that was used in 2024. And just as a reminder, with the levy at $186,812 for 2025, budgeted revenues are to exceed budgeted expenditures by about $4,700. So what we are looking for today is for the EDA Commission to set the preliminary levy request that will be forwarded to the City Council.
Thank you, Connie. Anyone have any questions for Connie or see any good reason why we shouldn't just ask for the maximum? Yeah, please.
No, I just think we always ask for the maximum and let the council cut it if they see fit.
That seems to make sense. Anything else? All right, there we go, Connie. Let's go for it. See what happens to the council. They're a wily group, so anything's possible. All right, we'll move on to E. This is the consideration of the River Birch investments. Jennifer, I think. Thank you.
So, now I'm on. Push harder. So I'm excited because we have a letter of intent that has been submitted for the lots 1, 2, and 3 in the TC Industrial Park. So we've been working with several interested parties over the last 6 months or so, but this group is ready to go and is mobilized and would like me to present this to this. I was going to say this evening, but it's actually this morning. But this morning. So what they're looking for is to be able to construct a new building for a medical facility. They are a business. They're in town already, locally, and they are renting, and they would like to build their own facility. So the LOI that's in your packet basically outlines what they are offering. They would like to participate, or at least explore the participation in the incentive program, which we talked about over the last several meetings. Essentially, they are aware of the fact that in order to do that, there are several steps in the process, including putting a development agreement together, a developer agreement together in terms of exactly what it would look like. They've got a preliminary site plan that they've been working through, and then also some preliminary concept architectural designs. You can see here, I was told to make sure that you're aware that these are draft. They're in very preliminary early phases of their due diligence and exploration. The facility that they're contemplating at this point is about 8,000 square feet, 2 floors. They are positioning it based on the site plan you can see on sort of between lots 1 and 2. So essentially they would end up combining those 2 parcels together. The reason that they would like to also have you entertain lot 3 is because they believe that there are future expansion opportunities that they would like to explore, and they also believe that there's a couple other sister businesses, for lack of a better way of saying it, that they think would be extremely compatible with them. And this River Birch Investments, I believe, is working with the doctor. The doctor is part of it. And so there might be a couple other medical professionals that they think they could get involved if this project is successful. So they would not want to lose out on the opportunity to be able to do phase 2 on lot 3. And that is why they have identified all 3 lots in their request today. So I know that there's some discussion about, lot 3, if it's not actually being proposed to be constructed on today, how might we structure that to make sure that something does get built there and it doesn't just become a vacant lot? And so I think there's a couple different ways that we could handle that in terms of how the incentive program works, because as we outlined, I think it was at the end of last year, the idea is that there's sort of a time performance component to it. So if they have to have phase 1 up and meeting the metrics that are identified within the development agreement within 5 years, maybe in order for them to secure lot 3, they would have to have a plan and phase 2 ready to go within 10 years, for example. So allow them to do phase 1. And then if they don't perform on phase 2, they would have the opportunity to either buy that lot at fair market value at that time, first right of refusal, essentially, or that it would go back to the EDA. So I think there's a couple different ways that we could do that. I fully understand why they feel like phase 2 has a lot of potential and why they would want to make sure that their neighbor obviously was compatible with them. So essentially the next step, if you were to say, yes, this sounds like a great idea and you're really excited because we just talked about how we want TC Industrial Park to sell, that essentially they would start that process for the development agreement. But they wanted to obviously get your feedback on the concept and the LOI first before we go through that, because that does involve quite a bit of investment from their side to take that next step. So, one of the other things I did follow up with her yesterday, I asked them how many employees that they have today and what they think this could support in the future. So in their current operation, they have 25 employees. All of those employees would move over to this new facility. They are sizing this such that they could have 2 additional providers, and that would then come along with it another 6 to 7 employees. So about 25 today, moving over, plus somewhere in that 10 additional employee range. So about 35 employees that would be out of this building eventually at full build out and full occupancy. So that, I'm happy to answer any questions But I've been working with them for a couple months, and I know they're really excited to hear what you have to say.
Excellent, exciting. Any questions for, yeah, please.
No real question. I mean, I'm in favor of what I read in the letter of intent and what I'm seeing here. I'm absolutely in favor of it. I think it could be a great thing. I am interested in seeing how that Lot 3 development would be worded or structured, because I totally understand that they would want a compatible business next door, but I don't understand how we could, in our right mind, sell that third lot for $1 and just let them, hopefully find a good neighbor in the future. But I'm interested to see what you come up with and how that would work. And then finally, is a development agreement like we have with Block Matrix really the only way to go forward on a deal like this?
So I haven't read your development agreement with Black Metrics, but I would hope that whatever we put together is, well, first of all, it has to have certain performance standards in it, and that's the tool that we have to use to do that, because technically, if we do this with $1 per acre as the sales amount, it's technically a subsidy, which means you then have to document exactly how you're going to meet those performance to demonstrate that there's a public benefit to what you're doing. Obviously, in this case, the benefit being you're going to have new taxable value out here. And that's why you have to have a time performance piece of it. And so the development agreement is the tool that is most commonly used to achieve those things, so that we have recourse in the future. If they don't perform, then basically they owe us the fair market value of whatever the land is at that time if those metrics aren't met.
Right. The thing that concerns me with the development agreement, based on my experience with the one we have in place, is we said, okay, these 2 parcels have to be a crypto mine. And if they don't fulfill their obligations, we have to go find another crypto miner. Dermatology is about as specific as crypto mining.
Oh,
Right. So if
on the
this
development
doesn't-
agreement.
If this doesn't get built in the development agreement, is the city forced to go find another dermatologist who's willing to build a building on
No.
TC Road?
So this would be structured slightly different than that, from the standpoint of it's a purchase agreement that says you will be forgiven the cost, if you will, if you do these things. Otherwise, we will be owed the fair market value. So we're not going to take it back in this case.
Okay.
So it will be structured slightly different. That's also how Lot 3, when you say, I don't know how we would let it, without knowing what we're looking at. Part of this is they will need to secure their construction loan, for example. It has to have a certain value. They're going to use the fair market value of the 3 parcels to achieve that and probably get their construction loan. So all of it will be documented and through an appraisal process of what fair market value actually is. And so if they don't pull a building permit, for example, then the development agreement, we may have some recourse to be able to say, we're no longer selling it to you, if you will. But once the building permit is pulled and there's actually construction happening, then there's different metrics that will trip in. But it's not going to be, this has to be used for a dermatology facility or building.
Thank you.
Yep, please, James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'll just add to that. I know one of the complex things that we're dealing with Black Metrics too, that this one wouldn't be involved with, is the power agreement. So that adds a whole nother component to it, plus the $650,000 that they put into the electrical infrastructure, which this one wouldn't have either. So I think that, would help as well.
Excellent. Any other questions?
I was going to say the same thing that James just said
Yeah.
about the power. I
wanna make sure
I
there's-
don't think dermatology needs like 25 megawatts, so that's going to make this a little easier. I'm excited about it. I think it's a great project, and I think I'm comfortable with what Jennifer was saying about the safeguards on the 3rd lot. As soon as they buy that, they are going to be getting taxed on the land at tax value, which isn't changing anything really for the city, but it's some incentive for them to get something done. I don't know if I'm comfortable for a 10-year agreement. Hopefully it would move faster than that, but we always want things to move faster. So I'm open to whatever we come up with. But yeah, maybe we wanted this to be industrial, maybe the medical healthcare district is what it becomes, and hopefully that's what this kicks into. So I'm excited for it. I want it to happen. Hopefully they move forward quick.
Yeah, please.
Do we need to talk about the conditional use permit? Is that something we talk about now, or is that something
I think it would need to go to planning, please, James.
Yeah, so I'll add on to that. So right now, our zoning code technically wouldn't allow this in the district. So we are working on an updated allowed use table, and it just didn't quite get transferred from the last zoning code to the new one quite appropriately. So I believe in the old one, this would have been allowed. So staff fully supports recommending this type of use in the industrial district. We are bringing it to the planning commission meeting at the next meeting to just specifically look at this use. We've already noticed the public hearing for it, and that way the planning commission will be able to consider this use in the zoning district. And certainly comments from the EDA today will be included in that agenda item.
Thank you. Is there a sense of urgency with this buyer that is, this process with planning and zoning is going to be prohibitive? Is there any way we can streamline that, or are we okay with the potential buyer?
So we are streamlining it for that reason. That's why
Yep.
it has already been noticed. This particular interested party does want to move fast. They've already engaged the design build contractor, as you can see from the concept. So they are absolutely moving along I would say fairly quickly in the process. So that was part of the reason for getting that in front of the planning commission as soon as possible.
Because hypothetically, that would be a week from, it would be all the way back to city council by a week from Monday, is that right? Or when's planning?
So planning commission, I think, is June 18th.
Okay.
And then it'll be July, the 2 July meetings for the readings for that ordinance change.
Okay.
But we decided not to include it in our large allowed use table, just in case that gets hung up, and just kind of zeroing in on the one use here.
Understood. That's about as fast as we can go.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I do think it will take at least that long, over that next 60 days, to get the development agreement put together. They're obviously going to perform some more due diligence and investigation as soon as they get the thumbs up. So it'll probably take the greater part of that just to get that memorialized, but then we'll probably be back in front of you with that agreement and that purchase and development agreement, essentially.
That's not until September though, right? So,
So as I told James, perhaps, depending on how quickly they need to go, we might need to convene for a
special meeting.
Oh,
Special meeting.
But
Kevin,
but
special
we'll
meeting
see.
Jaeger.
This is the kind of thing that special meetings are.
This is what a special meeting is for, right here. Any other? Yeah, please.
Just a question for James. Would this also require a variance for the parking?
I'd have to look further into it. Just got these kind of images last night, so I haven't got the chance to fully review everything.
Yep.
If you find it in order, Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that the EDA is supportive of the change of the land use in the zoning code,
Yes.
and I so move.
We have a motion?
Second.
And a second?
And I just make that motion so James can put it in the packet when he brings it to planning and zoning to let him know that EDA is
Fully supportive.
received this proposal and we're fully on board and want to see this happen.
Excellent. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. Okay, sounds exciting. Thank you so much for this. Love it when a plan comes together. Of course, the EDA will take full credit for this, so,
Did this.
yeah, good job, guys. Thank you, and we'll look forward to see what the future brings. So with that, we will move on to, you have what you need, James, on this? We're good to go? Do you need a motion on anything else?
Jennifer, is there anything else that you need a motion on?
Enter into an agreement?
Maybe a motion authorizing us to begin that process of
So moved.
negotiating the
We
agreement.
got a motion to,
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Very good. All right, excellent work, thank you. We'll move on to staff reports. I'm gonna start with Max. Tony. Connie. James.
Thank you. Just a few items here. So Country Manor closed on their bond documents, which was kind of the last step prior to beginning construction. The groundbreaking for the project is set for June 10th. So very exciting for the city of Brainerd and Country Manor. Again, I kind of updated. The Planning Commission is currently working on amendments to the allowed uses table, which will make development easier in zoning districts, specifically general industrial zoning district was heavily looked at. And then we'll also be reviewing the first version of the sign standards update, which the EDA wanted to see before looking at potential sign grants. And then also I'm currently setting up a tour of First Impressions Print and Design, so members should see a doodle poll soon for that tour.
Thank you.
27 options, Tony.
Eric, anything?
Yes, just a quick update for this EDA board. At the last city council meeting this past Monday, the council did give us authorization to work with the city of Brainerd in getting a grant put together for the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Program. That's going to hopefully, if they are granted the dollars, allow to support a development, actually a subdevelopment out in Brainerd Oaks for the construction of 18 more homes. Be 9 twin homes out there, and we don't usually see grant dollars for infrastructure, so the roadway, water, sewer, so it's a really good opportunity that will work in tandem with James and his office to hopefully get some grant dollars to support that developer. About $7.75 million available in this pool. It's all for Greater Minnesota, but that will go quickly. So we think we've got a competitive project. It's ready to go. It's going to be going forward without this as well. But this would hopefully be another just boost for that developer to make it a little bit more affordable. So get that in by next Thursday and hopefully hear back in September, I believe, for those dollars. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Eric. Tyler, you have anything?
Just wanted, for those of you, I know James was at our annual meeting. Bladick held our annual meeting back in May, on May the 8th, and I'm sure you all heard this, but Mayor Bedeau did a fantastic job of representing the city during our annual meeting. We changed up things a little bit this year and had a panel discussion and brought together our mayors from Brainerd, Baxter, Nisswa, Pequot Lakes, Cross Lake, and then Steve Barrows is the current board chair of the commissioners. So had a panel discussion, record attendance. We've had about 120 people attend, which is larger than we've ever had, which is awesome. But yeah, as you know, he's never met a microphone he didn't like, so he did a fantastic job, as did everybody else. And James, thanks for coming out and attending. And Eric you were there as well, Eric. Yeah. So sorry, didn't mean to omit you, but yeah, things went well with the annual meeting. We do have a staffing update. Haley Majerus, who is our marketing person, took a new job back in March, and we have confirmed we'll be filling her position here in the next couple of weeks, so we'll be back up to full staff. So that's really all I have. There's some other things we'll update at a later date. So
Very good, thank you, Tyler.
Thanks.
Mr. O'Day, you have anything?
Yeah, we had a bit of a issue yesterday downtown. We had a fire in one of our older buildings. Not sure how old it is, but those old buildings are delicate. We're hoping that the engineering report comes back and we can keep the building. We don't need more parking lots. We're currently trying to sell parking lots. So hopefully that comes together, but we do have a closure on Front Street for the foreseeable future. Hopefully the engineer can get in there and clear that up in the next few days. I don't know if you have an update on that.
I really don't. I just know that they're looking for an engineer, reaching out to try to get the engineer in as soon as, a structural engineer as soon as possible.
But we had a lot of fire department activity from all the surrounding departments. I think Little Falls, I saw a ladder truck, Brainerd's ladder truck. We had Nisswa, I think it was Garrison there. Pequot. So everybody wanted a piece of the action because we didn't want a great Chicago fire in Brainerd, and they did a great job. It doesn't even look like there was a fire, but we'll find out more about the damage on that, and hopefully it turns into something positive. Maybe we get a...
Well, is it my understanding the last time there was a big substantial fire in Brainerd, the Twins won the World Series, somebody said?
The last two fires, 87 and 91.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. It's a good omen.
Connie?
They did have to open up the roof to put out the fire, so
Right.
there's a hole in the roof.
Did they patch it?
I'm assuming it's somehow protected, yes.
Okay. That's all.
Are those are the businesses having to be closed right now? Well, that's
The businesses, as far as I know, I think the Front Street Cafe business, I believe the
And I
jewelry
do
business.
believe, and I do believe Blue Oyster is also closed because it was right next to it and there's a gap between
They
the
actually
buildings
made a
that there was
post.
no light there.
They made a post, they are open.
Oh, they are open.
But
Okay,
you have
good.
to walk there, obviously you can't park on Front Street, so.
Okay.
Yep, that's a
Good.
separate building technically, so they gave them the go-ahead.
Good. I just know that there was a gap between the two buildings now where there wasn't before, so that was the concern.
I'll try to get an update on the rest of it, because if we can post that on social media, that those whatever businesses are open,
Yeah.
just to help support them so they're not
That's a great idea. Yep.
suffering from that.
All the firemen that we allowed to retire, we were retired, were they still on or were they gone?
Yeah, they're still here till
Okay, thank goodness.
June.
End of June, some are here until the middle of July, so they were all here.
Okay, good. All right, Mr. Grisul, you have anything?
Nothing.
Ms. Kirsch?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the farmer's market that we started up mid-May is going great. We really appreciate city staff's cooperation on that. It was a really fast process, and just working with Public Works has been awesome. And yeah, we think it's a really added value to downtown. We've got over 20 vendors there every week, and we're just hope it keeps growing. And so yeah, just great to see that come together.
Awesome. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing to add.
Mrs. Beezer? All right, very good. So our next meeting is September-ish, I believe, sometime. So with that, I will be looking for an adjournment.
So moved.
Got a motion to adjourn and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Microphone on, Tony.